This is Taiwan Insider, a weekly news roundup brought to you by Radio Taiwan International.
Every week we give you an inside look at the biggest and most interesting stories coming out of Taiwan. I'm Natalie So.
And I'm Andrew Ryan, and here's your week in a minute.
Two Chinese warplanes crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait Sunday. Taiwan scrambled jets in response. It was a 12-minute standoff before the Chinese planes withdrew. President Tsai has condemned the Chinese incursion into Taiwanese airspace as a, quote, provocative act. She accused Beijing of breaking a cross-strait understanding and said the military stands determined to defend Taiwan. The U.S. also spoke out against China's provocation. U.S. Congress members introduced the Taiwan Assurance Act in the House of Representatives. The bill calls for sales of weapons to Taiwan, a bilateral trade agreement, and support for Taiwan's international participation. Taiwan has strengthened protections against child abuse with an amendment passed Friday. Prosecutors can now step in if a social worker files a report about a child in potential danger. Daycares will also have to install surveillance cameras. It's been revealed that two-time Olympic gold medalist and weightlifter Xu Jing has been banned from competition since last year when she failed a doping test. She resigned as a coach for the national team as a result of the revelation. And that's your week in a minute.
Every week at the top of our show, we each come up with a word of the week that we think represents this week. So, do you want to guess my word?
Yes. What do you have? No, I don't. Number. What? Nurture.
Nurture. Well, we're celebrating Children's Day this week. It's a Children's Day show. So, this is what I think of. We need to protect, care for our children, nurture them, give them the best environment.
That's great.
To grow.
That's right, because Children's Day is coming up this weekend, isn't it?
That's right.
Holiday, 4-day holiday. All right, you ready for my word?
Yes.
All right, what do we have?
See? Children?
Nope.
Child?
Close.
Childish?
Very close.
Childlike?
Yes. Actually, you hit the nail on the head. The reason why I wanted to do childlike is because so often we say that children are childish. In fact, we say adults are childish. But I love the word childlike because it's a good thing for adults to learn, to relearn how to be childlike.
To be humble.
That enthusiasm,
honest, right?
Excitement for the world and all the wonders that it beholds.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great word.
Yeah, so there are our two words of the week. Nurture your childlike self. All right, up next, we're going to get things started with a look at one of our top stories in the news this week.
This is a Chinese J-11 fighter jet. Two of them crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait between Taiwan and China on Sunday morning. The two planes took off from Fuzhou, China at 11 a.m. and changed course near Taiwan's Penghu Islands. They were only 100 nautical miles from Taiwan. Taiwan jet fighters scrambled in response. Defense spokesman Chen Zongji said Taiwan's jet fighters are trained for this. Pilots were immediately sent to intercept the planes. Taiwanese indigenous defense fighters were training in the air at the time and were called back. 4 F-16 jet fighters from Jiayi and 1 from Penghu were sent to intercept the planes. There was a 12-minute standoff between Taiwanese and Chinese planes, and Taiwan warned the Chinese multiple times to return to their own airspace. Taiwan also had anti-aircraft and Patriot missiles ready to fire. China's official media said that if Taiwan does not change its behavior and stop colluding with the U.S., the PLA Air Force will come to Taiwan. In Taiwan, legislator Wang Ting-yu called it a very rare situation. He said a deliberate crossing of the median line has not happened in the past 2 decades. Legislator Chang Chi-chun said Taiwan is not willing to see any provocative military behavior. He said it is not helpful for cross-strait peace and dialogue. President Ing-wen also condemned the incident. The U.S. urged China not to threaten Taiwan's security and to return to dialogue with the Taiwan government.
April 4th is Children's Day in Taiwan, so now we're going to take a look back at some of the top stories about children from the past year.
All right, I want to start off with one of my favorite stories from this past year. It's about a kindergarten that allowed its students to design their own playground. Let's have a look at that. So as you can see, the children are hosting their own press conference. They also created a storybook called What Happened on the Playground, in which they write about why playgrounds are so important.
And they had a special guest. We're going to see here in a minute President Ing-wen, who said that she was probably the first president who accepted an invitation from kindergarten students in Taiwan. And look, she even climbed up on their equipment, got some approval from her security detail to do that. Looks like they're having a good time together.
Absolutely, and it's fun. They told the kids to show her how to use the equipment because they wanted to make sure that the president could use it properly and that she would be safe while doing so. Very, very cute. Now I want to show you some of the other top kid-related stories from this past year. Now the Mandarin Daily News, they did an online poll in which they asked children which stories they thought were most important, and this is what they chose. So, children who lack sleep have 9 times greater risk of nearsightedness. Ooh.
90% of parents worry about air pollution's impact on childhood health.
The WHO lists video game addiction as a mental health problem.
Children going hungry to play claw machines.
Oh no, that's not good. And also we have lawmakers looking to curb the youth vaping trend.
They picked some pretty good stories there, huh? Some
Absolutely.
stories.
So you can tell that the kids, they also watch the news and they're also interested in what's happening in their world and what affects them as well.
Right. And on a darker note, in the beginning of this year, we saw some high-profile stories of child abuse. One father in particular had beat his son over ordering the wrong thing in a restaurant.
That's right. But on a bright note, though, however, Taiwan does protect children's rights. And in fact, lawmakers and the government, they are working to increase penalties in cases of child abuse. And in fact, that's the subject of today's Taiwan Explained. In today's Taiwan Explained, I'm going to tell you how Taiwan is working to protect its children.
All right, Andrew, you have 1 minute. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right, go.
All right. First of all, even though Taiwan is not a United Nations member, it did pass laws to put the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child into effect in 2014. What does that cover? That covers civil rights and also the right to liberty, health, welfare, education, leisure, culture, care, and special protection. Also, lawmakers have recently proposed amendments to the criminal code that would increase penalties for child abuse, up to life in prison or even the death penalty. The cabinet has also approved an amendment that would increase fines for perpetrators and for people who fail to report suspected cases. Also, they're going to bump up screenings for child care workers. Also, surveillance cameras will be mandatory in all nurseries. Already 90% of Taiwan's nurseries have them. And running short on time, the last one, faster police intervention for urgent cases. Even if they don't have evidence, they can still have prosecutors investigate.
All right. Pretty good, Andrew.
Why are you better at this than I am? I always have
You have too much information.
too much I want to say. Okay, but it is good that we have the UN convention
That's
that's
right. It
already
shows that
law.
we care. So that's our Taiwan Explained for today. Every week in Taiwan by Number, we introduce a facet of Taiwan via number. Now, the government wants us all to have more children.
No, I'm not
Wants
doing
the
very well.
people of Taiwan to have more children. And Taiwan had its lowest birth rate in 8 years last year in 2018.
Oh no.
So, Andrew, can you guess what that birth rate is? And I'm talking about how many children average per woman per lifetime.
How many children per woman? So in order to break even, it would have to be 2, right?
Right.
Okay, so less than 2. I'm going to say, I think it's like 1.5 in America. Like 1?
Okay, we'll find out in this video. Let's take a look.
That's the cry of the first baby born on the first day of 2018. But last year, Taiwan saw its lowest birth rate in 8 years. The average birth rate was only 1.06 babies per woman, down from 1.13 in 2017. For the past 15 years, Taiwan has had one of the lowest birth rates in the world. It reached an all-time low in 2010 at 0.9. In 1990, Taiwan women had twice as many babies, or an average of 1.81 babies per woman. The government now aims to increase the birth rate to 1.4 by 2030. One problem is fewer couples are walking down the aisle. only 135,400 couples tied the knot in 2018. That's about 2% lower than 2017, making it the lowest number of newlyweds in 9 years. The cost of raising children is another major factor. Current bonuses for newborns have not been effective. To encourage couples to have more babies, the government plans to expand subsidies and public daycare services for children under 5 years old. Shirley Lin, RTI News.
All right, so Andrew, let's take a look at what that number was. Well, you saw it on the video.
Yes.
It's 1.06.
Wow, so it is close to 1.
Yes,
Look at that.
Very good guess. But that's very low. And the goal now is to move it up to 1.4 by 2030. So that's what the government wants to do.
How do you do that?
Have babies! Well, the government needs to do a lot of things. They are doing some things. They give subsidies at birth. They're planning to expand some more subsidies to cover children from 0 to 5.
Okay.
Some monthly subsidies. They're also planning to increase preschools, public preschools. I think that will help because preschool education is very expensive in Taiwan, and that's a big concern once you have that baby.
Do you think subsidies will work?
I think that's only part of the equation. I think that will help, because financially it does cost a lot to raise a child. But I think also there's a lot more involved, like let's see, the education system in Taiwan. If they had more options, because education is a big source of pressure for kids and families.
Oh my goodness.
If they had more options, it would make life easier for parents and families, all the way from 0 to 12 years of education. So I think there need to be more options, whether it's preschool and throughout their lifetime.
Yeah.
And I also think infrastructure, having more sidewalks, more parks, making the whole environment more friendly to families would help.
Yeah, if you're imagining like bringing your kid outdoors, your newborn baby outside, you want to imagine bringing them to a place where it's safe to bring them. And
right, where it's easy to move around.
Yeah. So these are all the things you would think about as a mom, right?
Right, because there are not a lot of sidewalks right where I live. So, when you're in the stroller, you're worried about getting hit by a car. It's not as pleasant. It's stressful to be a mom sometimes.
Absolutely. Well, someday when I have kids of my own, I'm a dad, I'll come back and we can share notes. Yeah.
Now, if you have any ideas about how Taiwan can make life better for parents and inspire people to have more children, leave a comment below.
Up next, we have a segment called #Taiwan, in which we'll be checking out what's trending on social media.
This week, it was this Facebook post by Taipei Mayor Ke Wen-je. Monday was April Fool's Day, and the night before, Mayor Ke wrote, "Tomorrow, go to work on time. This isn't a joke. See you at 7:30. 16,000 people commented, saying things like, "My boss is serious. Maybe he'll announce he's running for president on April Fool's Day." And just in case anyone was wondering, the mayor followed up 2 hours later with a post outlining the morning meeting's agenda, which included a new location for the Lantern Festival and reviewing a social housing policy. Unfortunately for city employees, he wasn't joking. Now, one top official showed a bit more humor on April Fool's Day. Premier Su Zhen-tang tweeted, "To help prevent the spread of African swine flu, he has officially appointed a beagle as the vice premier." He also said to deal with the glut of pomelos, he is launching the first pomelo kicking contest at the Zhengwen Reservoir. To reward Coast Guard officials, Premier Su also announced a budget for barbecue equipment so the Coast Guard can be the first to feast on seafood they catch on the job. And since Taiwan was recently found to be the happiest nation in East Asia, from now on officials will wear the t-shirt #I'm free and #I'm happy at cabinet meetings. And something exciting for Children's Day. Taiwan Scene informed the public that Taroko Gorge is honoring children by making the beautiful but somewhat dangerous gorge childproof. On Children's Day, the famous national park will be filled with 15 trillion colorful balls that children 12 and under can play in. Now, no one older is allowed. That April Fool's joke made it into the local paper and the Twitter sphere. That's it for #Taiwan. If you see anything interesting on social media, let us know. Leave a comment below and follow us. We'd love to hear from you.
Now, Today we are focusing on Children's Day, and we've had a lot of stories about children in Taiwan. But up next we have some fascinating content for children.
That's right. Now, you may not think that an animation about doomsday sounds like kid-friendly material, but actually this series, called Rebirth, is full of hope. And in fact, the Culture Ministry has funded it to teach kids about community building. Let's have a look. Two children struggle through the darkness, trying to come to terms with the apocalypse. One of the children wants to give up, but the other one produces a seedling. Have you forgotten your wishes? These are some of the only survivors in a new animation called Rebirth. It's the work of a local production house called Xanthus Animation Studio. The Culture Ministry spent more than $300,000 to create this series of 12 short films in which a doomsday scenario serves as a backdrop for lessons about community building. Director Cai Hongbo explains.
This movie is about rebirth. The characters travel through different environments and meet different people and groups. Community building is about a group of people working on something together. So their interaction, that's the whole spirit of community building.
This is actually Taiwan's first animated film about the apocalypse. 6 of the episodes are already available on YouTube. There are also plans to bring the films to international expos and make them available on other platforms as well.
Well, that looks like a great series. Andrew, I heard that you watched it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. When you talk to kids about community building, they instantly turn off. They're like,
Sounds kinda boring.
Yeah. But what's really interesting is because this is an animation and it's really well drawn. Like, it's just really beautifully done.
It is beautiful.
And it's really engaging. It's in a language that the kids understand, and it's something that actually will get their attention and start the conversation, which I think a lot of times is what teachers are trying to do, is to actually create the conversation so that you can then teach them the things that you're trying to teach them.
Right. They use drama, the drama of the end of the world or something. Right?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Well, good way to get their attention.
Absolutely, and it's super cute. It's 2 kids, and they have this seedling, and they're trying to find a way to move on forward. And I think it's full of hope.
That's cool. Yeah. So if you want to check out that series, it's available in Chinese, and the links are below.
Now, finally today, we are going to leave you with a parting shot. He's a wedding photographer by trade, but 5 years ago, he began taking photos at underfunded schools in remote areas of Taiwan.
Young has been doing this as a volunteer, fulfilling the kids' dreams of having their own graduation albums. He started off at 3 schools, and this year he and his team created albums for 31 schools.
And as you can see, a lot of the kids are from indigenous tribes. That picture there is a photo from this year at one of the schools. Now, the government of New Taipei City has also awarded him as an outstanding young person.
He deserves that award.
Absolutely.
He does it free of charge.
Free of charge, and he says it's all worth the while because of the smiles and encouragement he gets from the kids.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely, and the pictures are great too.
They're really nice.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this special version of Taiwan Insider.
That's right, our Children's Day special. And please do contact us, send us story ideas at rti@rti.org.tw.
You can also visit our website at english.rti.org.tw.
And follow us on all relevant social media. You can see that below on the screen. For Taiwan Insider, I'm Andrew Ryan.
I'm Natalie So.
See you next week.